Welcome to a lesson on multiplying matrices. We have a pair deck that we'll be using, and we're going to start by asking you to go ahead and write your name on the front cover page. So we've been learning about matrices. We know that matrices are ways to organize groups of numbers. Today we're going to learn how we multiply them. We've already had practice, add, subtract, and solving equations with matrices. All right, so scalar multiplication. You've actually had practice with this as well. So let's grab a text box. Let's put our text tool down here and realize that we are going to distribute the -2 times all three terms in this matrix. And this matrix is called a 1/3 matrix. When I'm done, I'm going to have another 1/3 matrix. -2 times 7 is -14. -2 times -1 is 2. And -2 times 0 is 0. All right, so with scalar multiplication, it is just a matter of taking whatever the scalar is, the number that we have, and multiplying it. It's a type of distributive process, right? Multiplying it by every element that's in that matrix. So same thing here. And when we're done, we're going to have a 2/2 matrix. It's going to be 4 times every element in the matrix, okay? All right, so let's grab a text tool and go ahead and multiply. I have -8, 0, and then 4 times 4 is going to give me 16. 4 times -5 is -20. So that is how we scalar multiply. Now that's a review of what we've already done in the previous lesson. Matrix multiplication is quite interesting. Turns out, just like with addition, we can't just multiply any old two matrices. The size of the matrices that we're multiplying have to align, and I'll explain that. So if we look at this first matrix, there's 2 rows by 3 columns, right? So it's a 2/3 matrix. Now this second matrix has 3 rows by 2 columns. It's a 3/2 matrix. And the way the matrix, if we are multiplying matrices, I'll show you with my highlighter tool, these middle numbers have to match. So the number of columns of the first matrix and the number of rows of the second matrix have to match. And in this case, they do match. So what we end up with is a 2/2 matrix product, which is, I'm showing you right here. And over here, what we'll end up doing is we'll simplify. But let me show you how we multiply. We take the first row of the first matrix and multiply that by the first column of the second matrix. We multiply these two numbers together and then add the product of these two numbers and then add the product of these two numbers. And I tend to use my fingers and do some mental math. And I tend to go 24 plus 2 is 26. 26 plus 0 is 26. So what I did was I did -8 times -3. Now, I very rarely will show this, but when we're first learning, I always think it's a good idea to write out where I got my matrix product from. So see where what we did, I probably would write this as, let me fix this. I would probably do -3 times -8. Not that it's wrong to do it the other way, But it's this number times that number plus 2 times 1 plus 5 times 0. So that's going to give me 26. So then I'll use another color, green, for the first row times the second column. So I'm going to do -3 times 2 plus 2 times 5 plus 5 times -3. So it's negative, and I'll get rid of these parentheses just to give myself a little bit more room. So it's going to be -3 times 2 plus 2 times 5 plus 5 times -3. And again, I typically do that part with mental math. So I would typically go -6 plus 10 is 4. 4 minus 15 is -11. So that's going to be the element in the product that is row 1, column 2, because it came from row 1 and it came from column 2 of the matrix. See how this works? All right, so now we're going to deal with the last row, row 2, column 1. That's going to go here, and I'll do that in purple. Row 2, column 2, let's do in this cyan blue color, okay? Let's do the purple first, okay? So it's going to be 7 times -8 plus 1 times 1 plus 0 times 0. Seven times -8 is -56, plus 1 is -55, plus 0 is -55. Again, in the product matrix, this is row 2, column 1, because it came from row 2 of the first factor, column 1 of the second matrix. All right, now the last one is going to be row 2 of the first matrix times column 2 of the second matrix. We said we were going to do that in the blue color. So here we are. Let's do that. I'll start over here. It's going to be 7 times 2 plus 1 times 5 plus 0 times -3. So that's going to be 14 plus 5 is 19. 19 minus plus 0 is still 19. Now, we are going to learn in class how we can use a very nice Desmos matrix calculator to multiply matrices, but we also expect you to be able to do it by hand. It is a tedious process, but it is an organized and logical process. So that's our focus for today, okay? That you can multiply matrices mostly by hand, but also we'll show you how to use technology. All right, so once again, we have here a 2 by 2 matrix because 2 rows, 2 columns. We have 2 rows and 3 columns. Turns out we can definitely multiply these matrices together, and my product matrix is going to be a 2 by 3 matrix, which I've kind of laid out for you here, 2 rows by 3 columns. Now this time I'm going to use mental math to show where I get all of my entries, okay? So I'm going to start by using green, and I'm going to take the first row and first column, and the answer to that is going to go right here. All right, so let's do that. And again, I use my fingers just to point. 2 times 3 is 6. That's -5. 6 minus 5 is 1. So my entry in my product matrix that is in row 1, column 1, came from row 1 of the first matrix multiplied by column 1 of the second matrix. All right, let's go on. I'm just going to erase this. And let's go on now to row 1. And I'll change my color. Let's use pink. Row 1, this time column 2. And that answer is going to go right here, okay? All right, so I'll grab my text, grab my pink, get myself ready to go. I'm looking at negative 18 minus 7. Negative 25. Did it. All right, excellent. Now I will grab my pencil tool and I'll do orange. And this time I'm going to do row 1 of the first matrix times column 3. It's going to go in row 1, column 3 of my product. All right. So let's get ready. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 1 minus times negative 6 is 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. That's how we do this. And then we're going to do the same thing, but for the bottom, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to erase this top row. I will grab my green pencil. And this time, let's do row 2 times column 1. 9 plus 20, 29. All right, now let's get our pink text tool. And let's do row 2 times column 2. Negative 27 plus 28 makes 1. And then I'll get my orange text tool. And we will do row 2 times column 3. 6 minus 24. 6 minus 24 is negative 18, correct? Yes. All right, so that is an example of matrix multiplication. Lots of steps, but again, logical and orderly if you just think about what you're doing. The color coding does seem to help too. All right, we're going to go on here. It says your turn. So this is where we want you to try to multiply these matrices. Only thing I will do is get you started. This here is a 2 by 2 matrix because it's 2 rows and 2 columns. This over here is a 2 by 2 matrix, 2 rows and 2 columns. I will remind you that if these middle numbers are matching, and they are, then you can multiply them, and the product is going to be found as a 2 by 2 product. So your product is going to look like this. And remember, this is my product. It's row 1, column 1. So you are going to go ahead, see what you get, okay? Then on the next frame, you're going to see what the answer is. So you're going to go ahead and have a chance to check your answer. We'll stop the video right here.